Dan, what's different about the Cypress String Quartet Call and Response Commission from the usual commissions you receive?
Well, actually, making explicit the idea of call and response is freeing, or it's liberating for a composer, even though it seems like it might not be. In some sense, all commissions are call and response. I think that all composers want to see themselves in a tradition and to place themselves in response to some composers, not always in chronological order. Sometimes it's one's looking in various directions in history. So it was a lot of fun to know that this was going to be made explicit to the audience when I was writing the piece, that they would be able to have a chance to hear the connections, or at least think about the connections between the three composers on the program, Mozart, Beethoven, and me.
What is it specifically in the Mozart and Beethoven works that you can hear in your work? Are there direct quotations?
There aren't direct quotations. There are allusions to the music. There's an allusion to the key of both the Mozart and the Beethoven. All three pieces end up in some way in A major. And beyond that, I was more interested in trying to amplify some of the most subtle connections between the Mozart and the Beethoven. There's a ghost that haunts all three of these pieces, and that's Haydn. And Haydn taught effectively Mozart and Beethoven to be very, very conscious of the relationship between very specific notes and the key of the piece as the piece progressed. So in the case of the Mozart and the Beethoven, it's the notes E flat and F natural. It's not obvious to the listener when you hear the piece for the first time, and certainly not without looking at the score, that this is going on, but those two notes inform all of the harmony in both of those pieces, and I tried to amplify that in my own work by starting in an area that is most closely associated with the note E flat and progressing to A major by the end of the piece.
Thinking of call and response, how responsive was the quartet specifically to your work? Did you make changes based on suggestions that they had made?
Small changes, but they were just incredibly dutiful and creative in interpreting the piece. They really got to know it very, very well, and even in the time between the first performance, which was at a very high level, and this recording, there are moments in the piece that really have come to life in incredible ways.
Is there anything different about working with the Cypress String Quartet than some of the other groups you've had commissions from?
Well, it's great to have a close friend in the group, and Jennifer Kletzel is an old friend from Juilliard, but all four musicians are especially interested in, I would go back to the idea of tradition. Not all string quartets are interested in revitalizing or redeeming a tradition. A lot of string quartets are interested now in trying to see what a string quartet can do that's never been done before. And I think this is a really interesting happy medium, trying to innovate within the context of tradition.
I'm sure a lot of composers like to work in an ivory tower, but this call and response program takes the quartet into schools, and there's a lot of response from children and members of the community. Did that concept attract you?
Well, that's been fantastic. It's been a lot of fun to introduce the piece to audiences that wouldn't ordinarily get a chance to hear any classical music, much less a new piece by me. So that was really a treat.
Do you sometimes feel as if you're a fifth member of the quartet?
When I was with them in February for a lot of the call and response concerts, I really felt like part of the family. It was amazing. It was a wonderful experience.